Welcome, fools. We're glad to be here with Paul Joseph, CEO of Lifecore Biomedical today. I'm Bill Barker. I'm with Rich Griefner, who's recommended this stock in Value Hunters. It's also part of the microcap sleeve of the One portfolio, so we hope that you're following along through one or both of those services. And very happy to have Paul Josephs, CEO, to explain this company to us and to you. Welcome, Paul. Thanks for joining us.
Bill, Rich, thanks so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Well, if we could just start, but not everybody knows as much about Lifecore Biomedical as you do, of course, and it's a CDMO. And if you could just give us a quick background on the company itself and CDMOs generally, that would be great.
Happy to. Again, thank you for having me. Lifecore Biomedical is a sterile injectable CDMO. We've been in business. We're actually celebrating our 60th year anniversary this year. We'll be celebrating it September 25th in Chaska, Minnesota, where we're headquartered. We actually have 3 facilities in Chaska, all within 2 square miles. CDMO stands for Contract Development and Manufacturing Organization. We basically develop and manufacture drugs on behalf of other pharmaceutical companies, whether they're large multinationals or specialty pharma or emerging pharma companies. And we do that we have global customers, customers all over the globe. We began and got our start in the injectable side of the business, manufacturing what can be considered almost an active pharmaceutical ingredient or API within what's called within the industry called hyaluronic acid. Think of it as a lubricant, natural lubricant within the body, but we ferment that and we use it in sterile injectables, whether it's for ophthalmics, which are used in what they call ophthalmic viscosurgical devices, basically an injection that lubricates the eye between the eyeball and your new lens and cataract surgery. And then from an orthopedic perspective, strong heritage there with regenerative medicine or pain medicine. Think of it as a lubricant in joints, whether it's shoulder, knee, ankle, etc. But Lifecore over the past couple of years has really advented outside of ophthalmics and orthopedics into a broad range of sterile injectable programs.
Great, thanks. I think we'll probably focus more on the CDMO side of the business, maybe if that's appropriate. Certainly, the other side I think is about a third or a quarter of revenues currently. Am I right about that?
Yes, it is. It sets a strong foundation for our business, but certainly, as I think you're alluding to, the sterile fill finish CDMO side of the business is really the growth story associated with Lifecore Biomedical.
And regarding the growth, you've been in the industry now for 30 years, only a few of those with Lifecore, but you've seen it all over 3 decades. And how have you seen the industry change during that time, and what about it has not changed and won't change?
Well, I'll start with the what hasn't changed, and that's our customers' requirement for strong quality. Quality is your ticket to the dance, if you will. It's a must-have, and that has not changed in the 30 years I've been in this business. When I started in the mid 90s, or I guess it would be 94 in this business, it was a business that was very transactional. A lot of mostly small molecules, solid dose CDMOs. Your customers were all mostly purchasing agents, et cetera, that worked in large multinational pharma companies. And it was very a tactical sort of procurement. Again, purchasing managers, procurement managers making buying decisions. Over the past 30 years, though, contract manufacturing has become more strategic. It was called CMOs at that point, contract manufacturing. Now the acronym is CDMO, Contract Development and Manufacturing Organizations. And I think that goes to the evolution of the relationships between sponsors and a contractor has moved to, getting further upstream and relying on your contract development partner to do that development phase, whether it's phase one, phase two, potentially preclinical. So a lot more partnership oriented. I would say earlier on, not just a operations driven initiative, but really a speed to market driven initiative. I think that happens right at the strategic level within some of these larger multinational pharmaceutical companies, and that goes to when I think about customers too. Just the evolution of the pharmaceutical industry to more of emerging biotechs and specialty pharma who necessarily don't have the infrastructure. Well, there's been a plethora of growth in that area, so that's led to different needs from a CDMO perspective. Um, I talked about solid dose before, and that was the predominance of the industry. And now you see the advent of biologics and cell and gene therapy, big parts of CDMOs. And then I guess the other thing that I think about primarily is just from a valuation of CDMOs too. The when I was in this business, the multiples or trading multiples of CDMOs was quite low, single digits, low single digits. Now you see the type of valuations out there for some of the larger multinational publicly traded CDMOs. We're one of the last ones standing. I think we're the only pure play CDMO that's under 500 million in the country, with Avid going private earlier this month or earlier this year, excuse me. So um, those are the majority of the things that I've seen take change. It's certainly been a whirlwind. I guess my final point would be just the growth of large multinational CDMOs too. Lonza, Catalent, Thermo Fisher, growth by acquisitions primarily. That wasn't the case when I started in this industry in 1994. It was just disparate CDMO or CMOs throughout the country.
Yeah.
Got it. Thanks for the overview. I'm going to throw it to, let's bring Rich in for
Yeah.
a few more things that now that we've got the industry explained. Rich, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. So, Paul, you mentioned that CDMOs tend to trade at high valuations, high multiples, because they're high margin businesses when they operate at scale. That's what attracted us to Lifecore. But I'm curious, you joined the company in May of last year, May 2024. What was it about Lifecore that attracted you?
Great technology. The fact that the technical capabilities within Lifecore, I think, are superior to other CDMOs of our size. So you weren't going to I'll say, a commodity-oriented CDMO. This is a true company that can solve complex problems because anytime a customer comes to us, they're coming to us with a problem. It's either a growth problem, it could be capacity, needs, etc., or it could be a development problem where they're trying to solve the formulation itself to get to a commercial scale, or there's an analytical method issue. Well, the technical capabilities at Lifecore are superior. And then the other thing is the investments in capacity were already made, and so there was something to sell into. And then the final piece is the company was coming through an inflection point. It had come through a tough period, divesting and becoming a standalone business outside of a food conglomerate, and then going through a strategic process. And I just saw a great opportunity to build something special there.
Yeah, it's funny. So Bill and I worked together maybe, gosh, I don't know, 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago, and we recommended the predecessor company that used to be the food conglomerate. So we are familiar with the old business, and this one is much better in every respect.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and it's been fun, really trying to build something special, and the team there in Chaska has welcomed me, I believe, with open arms, by word and by action, and I'm really pleased with the results so far in the first 15, 16 months.
Yeah, that's great, and as are we. But the stock market doesn't necessarily see it that way. What's something you think most investors fail to appreciate about Lifecore?
I think it's just the brand awareness and name awareness of Lifecore. This company that's in the Midwest that's known as a hyaluronic API supplier, not known broadly for its sterile injectable capabilities. And I think both from an investor perspective and from I will say, a customer and market perspective, that is starting to shift. And there's a greater appreciation for what we can truly achieve over the midterm, which is a 12% CAGR on the revenue side and increasing EBITDA margins from 15 to greater than 25%. So, I think it's just continue to educate the market about who we are and the successes that we've seen over the past 15, 16 months, but more importantly, the successes that are to come, which I firmly believe will take place.
That's great. And since you started back last May, Lifecore has refreshed the executive suite. You've got a new CFO, a new SVP of operations, new chief legal officer, new chief commercial officer. What impact do you see these leaders having on the organization?
I think they're all going to they have and will continue to have great impact. The thing that was key for me is first the team has, the individuals have to be accomplished and a proven track record. And each one of the ones that you've mentioned have that. But most importantly, I wanted individuals who really wanted to and embrace working at a company, getting their hands dirty and being hands-on leader to drive value in the organization, because we're an organization that's 400 strong. We're not an organization that's 4,000, or in the case of Viatris, where Tom Salis came from, that's 35,000 plus associates. We need hands-on leadership who can work collaboratively with the team there in Chaska, and I think we have that. The team proves it every day. And it's in full alignment with what we're trying to fix, solve, and accomplish, and that's again to achieve our midterm goals as quickly as we can in the most efficient manner. So, I love the group that we have, and I love the teamwork that I've seen. They all have the ability to put company above self, which is critically important for me in putting together a strong leadership team.
Yeah, love to hear that. And I know you guys have also revamped the way you go to market with your sales and marketing team. Can you talk a bit about the difference in the approach and what impact this is having on the business?
Sure. I think it's a mentality and a skill set. So, Lifecore heretofore, before I joined, was more of I would say, took a farming approach to its business development efforts. By that, I mean a set group of customers, and we'll cultivate those customers, and that's where our growth will come from. And occasionally we may see an opportunity come in from somebody who knows a little bit about us. But what we've done, we've converted or rebuilt that sales team to what I would call a group of hunters, a team of individuals who are going to seek out new opportunities with new customers to drive new and impactful programs into the site. Yes, our existing customer base is critically important. They're an important part of our future. But for us to reach our aggressive goals, we have to go out and identify and hunt for new opportunities. And I love the team that we've put in place. I love our new Chief Commercial Officer, Mark DaFonseca. He's bringing his successful track record and philosophy and of aggressive prospecting activity to bear at Lifecore, and we are starting to see the results, definitely from a leading indicator perspective. And then from a marketing perspective, just a brand awareness, which I talked about before. We've invested significantly more resources into marketing to elevate our brand within the market. Also online, because the majority of searches that are business to business type sales start with a search, and we want to make sure that we're right there in a prominent position when somebody looks for quality sterile injectable CDMOs.
That sounds good. And thank you for the overview of Lifecore's culture. I heard you say you like to get your hands dirty, team players, a hunter approach instead of farming. Were there any companies or leaders that you look to for inspiration when setting that culture?
Well, I think nobody specifically. I think it's a conglomerate of what I've learned over working now for 40 years. So our core values are around what we call home, humility. So yes, we believe in the capabilities and talent we have, but we're open to feedback, and that's both internally and externally. Ownership in the sense that a customer is entrusting us um, with their asset, and we're going to take ownership of that. And metal, just from a perseverance perspective, because this business is hard. There will be issues. There's going to be challenges. It is drug development, and you have to have the ability to work to persevere through. The business is hard, and then the final piece is excellence, and that is not a destination; it's a journey. Because every day we talk about just getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, and that's critically important as we look to scale. We want to be able to scale with some level of leverage, and you can only do that if you continue to improve not only yourself but your processes, your systems, your procedures going forward. So, that's what we try and live every day in Chaska, in our three sites there in Chaska, Minnesota.
Thanks. Let me ask a couple of questions about current strategy for the company. You've got a three-pronged growth strategy. Investors can look at, I think, your investor presentation on your website on the IR investor relations portion of the website and see the presentation there. But if you could just give us an oral outlook on it, and how the three prongs sort of divide in terms of what percentage of growth you might expect. You had mentioned the 12% CAGR growth goal for the company, and that's going to be achieved with these three prongs. And if you could illuminate that a little bit, that'd be great.
Sure, thanks, Bill. So the three-pronged growth strategy contemplates the following: maximizing existing commercial-based business. Second is advancing our development portfolio towards commercialization. And the third is what I was just speaking to, or a little bit earlier, is driving new and impactful programs into our site, driving new business into Lifecore. If I think about the midterm, or as we think about the midterm, the majority of this growth over the midterm will come from growth from our, or a big portion of it will come from growth from our existing customer business. So we have a significant inflection point with one of our largest customers that will more than double their volume in 2027, based on their minimum volume commitment. So that will drive significant growth starting in 2027. And then we also have within our development pipeline, if I think about point two, we have 11 programs now in late stage development that have launches between 2026 and 2029. And we've risk adjusted those by about 60%. So thinking that 60% of the time they're going to fail. And that will be the next level of growth in our three-pronged growth strategy, achieving that 12% CAGR over the midterm. So we think we're well positioned there with new potential launches if they gain regulatory approval, and we're really excited about the portfolio that we're building there. And then the third piece, and it has probably the least, well, not probably, it has the least impact over the midterm, is driving new and impactful programs into the site. And by that I mean just the nature of the pharmaceutical industry. Even though you may bring a program in late stage phase 3, it still could be between 2 and 4 years before it commercially launches. And then if we bring in a site transfer, you're probably in there where it's commercially manufactured, say in another region, market, or it could even be in the United States. That's about a 2-year process. So, they're probably that group will, as far as the sales group, about driving growth in that midterm 36 to 48 month period, probably going to have the least amount of impact. But, we think they'll have the biggest impact over the long haul.
Maybe as an example of kind of how the timeline for something like that works, I believe that in the last end of the quarter, you announced some new customer agreements, including one regarding a GLP-1 therapeutics, and that's, of course, something that has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of investor enthusiasm generally for the GLP category. So how does that play out? What does the timeline look like? And when is there sort of a material effect for you?
So it's a late phase program. We'll be generating what we characterize as development revenue through the process, qualifying it throughout in Lifecore's capabilities. But right now, the commercial launch is slated for the 2029 period.
Right. So, investors hearing about that need to be patient regarding when the revenues will most powerfully show up in the results. 2029, you say?
Yeah, yes, and I would say this, Bill, is really what we're internally we're working to stack. I would say launches. We want multiple launches or multiple shots on goal each and every year. You see that in our investor deck starting in 2027, 2028. We're getting there in 2029. But if we get multiple shots on goal, I use shots on. I always use sports analogies, so excuse me. But if we have 4 or 5 launches scheduled each and every year, and knowing that one or two may get delayed or have some sort of regulatory delay, you're going to have you're likely to have multiple launches each and every year. And if you can stack that year on year, you're going to build a very successful CDMO. That's how I've built my career. That's how I've built other CDMOs successfully, and that's what we're trying to build here at Lifecore. So excited about it.
Yeah.
Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And completely stupid question. When you were thinking of shots on goal, was that an homage to Canada? Were those hockey shots that you were envisioning?
Well, I grew up in Canada and I played hockey when I was 6 for one season and never put on skates again. So I don't know if I can use hockey, but maybe let's talk soccer. Make it soccer.
Well, you're still ahead of us in your hockey experience then. Last fall, Lifecore's new filler became operational, which doubled the company's production capacity. What opportunities does this new filler create for Lifecore?
Oh, that's a great question. So the 5-head isolator filler is what large multinational organizations are asking for. So it's a state-of-the-art filler. From a compliance perspective, it's that next level of compliance that large multinational companies are looking for versus what the original restricted access barrier systems, or RABs as they're called. So it's opened up a whole different customer base for us. And if I think about a leading indicator, even today in Chaska, we have a large multinational company on site. We have another one tomorrow. Whereas heretofore, I think in 2023, before that, it was just occasional that we had these large multinational companies within our site. So it's opened up a whole new customer base for us. And it's funny and interesting. I tell people all the time, they come there for the isolator because they said that's what they're mandated to put programs on. But then, we go and they say, oh, okay, when I looked at the RABs, maybe I'll think about that for another program. So I think the isolator is the key to opening the door. But our existing capabilities that are more than compliant are also still very attractive for customers as well.
Thanks, Paul. From a macroeconomic perspective, right now there's a lot going on with tariffs, geopolitical uncertainty, supply chain evolutions. How is that affecting the business?
Yeah, so I say there's U.S. manufacturing momentum. That's the term I use. I don't think it's Biosecure Act was about, a couple of years ago, more about Asia-based manufacturing and not importing products from Asia. Then it became tariffs. Then it became Middle East uncertainty. It's just clear that there's the momentum for manufacturing here in the U.S. is probably never been stronger in my 30 plus years. So, we see it. We have, I think I mentioned on our earnings call, or maybe with one of the analysts after, we have opportunities now coming out of Asia. We have opportunities to reshore coming out of Europe. We have a program that we're in advanced discussions on that's coming out of Israel because of the Mideast unrest. So there's a lot. It's certainly picked up some of the momentum in our pipeline, certainly.
And those conversations, just to go back, there are things that would translate into top line opportunities. How quickly?
So similar to what I talked about, it spans the gamut, but a couple of these are what I'd call as commercial site transfers. So that's that sort of 2 to 3 year window to transfer those into our site, and then others are development programs that are just your natural, whether it's phase 2 or phase 3. Not the ones I'm thinking about aren't in the phase 1 period, but certainly phase 2.
Great.
Sounds good.
Rich?
Yeah. And then, this is probably the longest any investing conversation has gone in 2025 without mentioning artificial intelligence. Paul, can you tell us a bit about how Lifecore is utilizing AI in the business?
Not enough. So we're at the advent of utilizing AI. Actually, I just did my one-on-one with Thomas Goldegger actually just last week. We talked about it, what we're going to do in operations as a pilot to help with some process improvements, et cetera. I think there's a whole host of opportunities within quality that we need to explore, from investigations to data integrity to even predictive metrics around release testing. And then I think about what we can do from a sales and marketing perspective. We're utilizing it a little bit from a finance perspective, from an AP standpoint, but it needs to become a strategic initiative for us, looking at this broadly within our organization. We're at the surface. We've talked a lot about it, but we haven't put the requisite strategy in place yet to take advantage of the opportunities in front of us. It's exciting, though. Really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and then you don't really do a lot of interviews, so we really appreciate you joining us today. But I did see in one previous interview you did, you mentioned the importance of embracing failure and viewing that as a learning opportunity to help you grow. Can you tell us about a mistake that you made in your career and how you grew from that mistake?
Well, I'm glad you're asking me and not my wife this question. So she'd give you a whole lot of host of examples. But, I think early on in my career, if I think back, I moved quickly on a deal, and it was an impactful deal for the organization, and it was a right deal for the organization. But I overpromised and underdelivered, and in a lot of ways, that was because I didn't fully align with my internal partners, both from an operations, quality, and supply chain perspective, and that led to not only disappointment and I'll say an erosion of confidence on the customer side, but some broken trust internally as well. So what that taught me is that, yeah, speed matters, and I will always push, and I think our team would tell you I'll always push, but it only matters if you can deliver reliably. And so I make sure in everything that I do today, what I've learned is make sure that you're aligned on what you're trying to fix, solve, and accomplish. You're going to push the team hard because days do matter, but we want to be fully aligned and ensure that we can deliver reliably. So it was a tough lesson for me, but one that has served me well going forward. I still don't back down from challenging opportunities and pushing the team aggressively, but I'll ensure that we're fully aligned moving forward. And the other thing is just allowing the team to bring challenges forward in those type of situations transparently without fear of retribution or some sort of backlash. I'm here to support and develop and grow, and people know, I believe they know that they can bring issues to me without fear of being criticized in any way. We're all here to work together towards a solution that works for both us and the customer.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. All right, and we want to be respectful of your time, so let's close out with something quick and easy. What's your favorite part of your job?
I love seeing people grow, and I love seeing them develop, and I love the fact that we have 400 people or a little over 400 at Lifecore, and the average family size is 4 individuals. So I know that every decision that I make and action I take affects in some way 1,600 lives, and I love that. It's a great responsibility. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Um, I didn't think I'd be in it for 30 years or 30 plus years, but I've probably seen the majority of issues. No issue surprises me, but there's nuances in every one because there's people involved, and I love working with people, and I love hopefully positively impacting their lives daily and weekly and beyond. So I really do enjoy that.
That's great. And then final question. We know it's not hockey. What do you do for fun?
Yeah, so I'm a grandfather twice over. So Miles is a little over 2, and Nina's just over 1. And I love being a grandfather. And then, personally, I love to run. I find it meditation, and play a little bit of tennis, not as much as I'd like, and I play some very bad golf, which I love as well. So that's what I enjoy.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, CEO Paul Josephs of Lifecore Biomedical, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. Thank you, and full on.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.